Hi there, so we're going to go over the 4-2 notes. So there's two important things that are going to be going on. There's going to be one part that's going to be identifying if it's a major or minor arc and then finding the measure of that arc. So I'm going to kind of go through this top part that we're going to find the measure of a specific arc. And then down below, finding the length of an arc. So just like we can find, say, an angle of a triangle, or we can find the length of a triangle, that's kind of our two thought processes here for circles. So this is kind of some new information. So I really would like you guys to take a few minutes, read through this, listen to me go through this, and hopefully the examples aren't going to be too hard here. So our first thing is that we need to identify a central angle. And it says that a central angle is an angle whose vertex is at the center of a circle and whose sides are radii. So looking here, we can identify that angle GEF is what we're talking about. That's a central angle. Also, like CEF would be a central angle, or CEH would be a central angle, or even something like CEG. Those are all central angles. So there's a lot of different central angles. So it's any angle that's being created with the vertex of the angle at the center and then the radii for the lengths. And so depending on them, we will have that a central angle will separate a circle into two arcs, either a major arc or a minor arc. So looking here, we can see that this angle right here is going to split the circle into having an arc right here, so GF, and then it's also going to separate the circle into having this arc way over here. Does everyone see that? So we have this central angle is going to give us this pink arc right here, or we'll separate the circle into all of that yellow arc. And so we're going to be able to be working with identifying minor and major arcs. So the minor arc is this pink one, the major arc is the yellow. So just kind of making sure that we understand that language, that a major arc is going to always be more than 180. And the minor arc is always going to be less than 180. Do I have that written there? The minor arc, yeah, I do. The minor arc is less than 180. And the major arc will be more. It doesn't say that totally, so let's kind of write that here. That minor means less than 180 degrees, and major is more than 180. So we can see that the pink is a minor arc and the yellow is a major based off of looks there. Once we do this example down here, we'll have actual numbers. And then important to identify that a semicircle is when it's actually 180. So you guys should be familiar with that term semicircle, but noting that it's actually 180 degrees. So reading through all that there. So this is an example like you're going to be doing on the skills practice and practice. It says, example, AC is the diameter of circle R. We are asked to find the measure of arc AB. So this symbol right here, this is kind of new right here, the measure of arc AB. So that means to find the measure of arc AB. So we're finding the degrees of this arc right here. So just like we find like degrees in a triangle or degrees, say, in a quadrilateral, we're finding the degrees of a circle. So kind of how much does this arc is what we're trying to do. And so actually it's pretty easy when it's dealing with a central angle, that the relationship is that if this central angle is 42 degrees, then this arc is just 42 degrees. It's literally as easy as that. So if I tell you that this arc is 42 degrees, this angle is 42 degrees, this arc is 42 degrees. If I told you that this arc was 100 degrees, you would say the angle is 100 degrees. That's all we need to do. The other part of this is then just finding the major arc. So clearly we can see that 42 degrees is less than 180, so we'll call this a minor arc. And then now we'll go about finding the major arc here. So that one right there will be a major arc. And we just need to subtract that from 360. So 360 degrees minus 42 will give us 318 degrees. 318 degrees for our major arc. Excuse me. So that will be the first part of the worksheets that you'll be doing. So dealing with major and minor arcs and semicircles, and then working with finding the degrees of the arc. And again, it's literally if this is the central angle, this is 42 degrees, the arc is 42 degrees. Sometimes you may have to add certain ones up, or sometimes you may have to subtract to find the major arc, but that's the concept right there. The second concept is going to be finding the arc length. So how long is it? So like looking up here in this green picture, we know that this arc is arcing 42 degrees, but how long is it? And so in order to deal with how long it is, we do need to know we are going to need to know how like big or small the circle is. So we're going to need a little bit more information than just kind of a circle with a degrees. We're going to have to know what the radius is, or maybe what the diameter is of the circle to kind of be able to then deal with the length. So our formula here says that the arc is part of a circle and its length is part of the circumference of the circle. The length of arc L can be found using the following equation. So our equation is going to be x over 360 times 2 pi r. We should recall that 2 pi r is just the circumference. So we're really just taking the whole circumference and then multiplying it just by the portion of the 360 degrees in the circle that we need. So let's look at this example together. It says to find the length of AB, arc AB. Remember that symbol, that means arc. Round to the nearest hundredth, so 2 decimals. It says the length of arc AB can be found using our equation right here. So looking at this circle, if we need to find arc AB, so that's going to be finding how long that is. We know that the degrees, since this is 135 degrees, that angle, we know that this is 135 degrees, or a minor arc. But we need to take it a step further and find out how long that green piece is. So we're going to use our formula. And so it says to do x over 360 times 2 pi r. So plugging in, we can see that our radius is 8 inches. Everyone sees that, 8 inches? And then our degrees will be at 135. So we just plug in for x is 135 because that's the amount of degrees they give us. And then our r is our 8. So then we can just calculate 135 divided by 360. This is times, it kind of looks like a minus, but it's just multiplying. So multiply that by 2, multiply that by 3.14, and multiply that by 8, and we should get about 18.85 inches. So when you go to do your 4-2 skills practice, you should be all set to work on some of these examples and these examples. Just pay attention to when it's asking for the degrees, finding the measure, or finding the length. So the keywords there are going to be finding the measure and then finding the length. So when you go to work on that worksheet, and I'll do those notes with you. I'll do this worksheet in a different video there. So you'll have these are finding the measure, and then these are finding the length. So you guys can be working on that. Thanks so much.